Welcome to the next thrilling chapter in the Saga of Assyria. Our story now takes a dramatic turn as Ilium, the self-proclaimed ruler, returns from his pilgrimage to the holy city. During his absence, the chaos was brewing, tensions were rising, and let's just say the kingdom wasn't running as smoothly as Ilium might have hoped. Now here's the kicker. Ilium is 50 years old and still doesn't have an heir.
Not one.
Naturally, this has everyone in the kingdom gossiping about what's next. After all, no successor means trouble, especially in a place like Assyria, where ambition runs wild and opportunists are lurking in every shadow. Back to history, as soon as Elam left Medina, the Arabian capital, the king of Arabia revoked the treaty for the supply of horses. Elam recognized this as a significant blow to Assyria's growing strength, but his attention was swiftly drawn to a more pressing issue. News reached him that the city of Kalmys was pushing for independence. Alarmed, Elam hurried to Kalmys, determined to quash the rebellion. At the center of the uprising was Ninar, a powerful plantation owner and slaveholder who rivaled Elam in wealth and influence. Her defiance threatened to unravel the fragile unity of Assyria. Meanwhile, the ship Luck's Dream, once sailed by King Luck the Explorer, reached the shores of America, said to be the most powerful nation in the world. However, the crew was thoroughly unimpressed. They mocked the locals, suggesting they should visit Assyria to see a real civilization. The entire continent was meticulously mapped by settlers inspired by Queen Wella the Absent. Her earlier initiatives, though mocked at the time, had laid the groundwork for Assyria's exploration efforts. These maps promised valuable information for future endeavors and the expansion of Assyria's influence. As soon as Elam returned to the capital Mak, he summoned Islamic monks and tasked them with converting the population of Kalmys. The plan was executed with remarkable subtlety, and, almost overnight, Ninar lost the support she had so carefully cultivated. Her influence waned as the city's allegiance shifted and Elam's grip on Kalmys tightened, solidifying his control over the region without the need for open conflict. It was a masterstroke of diplomacy and strategy, showcasing Elam's cunning in maintaining power. Elam was determined to capture Ninar and make an example of her, but she evaded his grasp. She embarked on a pilgrimage to Medina, seeking refuge and redemption. However, her stay there was short-lived. Eventually, Ninar made her way to the bustling city of Istanbul in the Turkish realm, where her journey came to an end. At the age of 66, Ilium, known as Ilium the Unifier, passed away. During his reign, geographical discoveries were expanded, and the kingdom saw the creation of a formidable chariot army, along with the establishment of 3 units equipped with powerful city-bombarding rams. Ilium left Assyria both prosperous and secure. With his concubine, he had 2 daughters, Sarijah and Alimea, who were only 5 years old at the time of his death. In their name, power was held by appointed generals, tasked with guiding the kingdom through this uncertain transition. The girls grew up quickly. They were not very sickly, and despite their youth, they showed signs of intelligence and strength. General Tal, who ruled in their name, began to wield more and more influence over the kingdom's politics. He halted the construction of siege machines and ultimately persuaded Sarijah to focus on building a navy. Taking advantage of the situation, Tal pointed out Germania, a region that was completely unprotected and ripe for conquest. He suggested that a naval invasion could be launched easily, allowing them to take control of the entire area. This plan, promising power and expansion, began to gain traction among the advisors and officials of the court. Eventually, a group of settlers led by the unfortunate Queen Wella, after years of wandering, finally reached their destination. They arrived on the battered wreck of the very ship that once carried the late King Luck to his untimely demise. The settlers stumbled upon an island rich in resources, teeming with wild horses and vast deposits of amber. In honor of their leader, the island was christened Wella. Queen Sarijah received the news of the new city on her 16th birthday. New city was named Sarpal, in tribute to the queen herself. Sarijah commented this in her style, "Well, I suppose they could have done worse." The younger sister of Queen Sarijah, Alimea grew increasingly envious of Sarpal and longed to have a city named in her honor as well. For years, she pushed relentlessly to organize settlers for her own expedition. However, court advisors reminded her of Queen Wella's fate, drowned at sea after making reckless decisions. The warnings carried weight, especially as the gold reserves amassed by their father were depleting at an alarming rate. To make matters worse, the flimsy ships carrying horses and silver from the new territories rarely made it back to the capital, leaving resources scarce and tempers high. Still, to keep Alimea content, a newly discovered and promising island was named in her honor, Alimea. At last, the dream of the old advisor Tull came true. Ironworking was discovered, and deposits were marked on maps. The first confirmed deposit lay on the island of Alimea, though it had already been partially annexed by the Russians. The second was found on Lacaria, in a city ruled by barbarians. And the third? It rested on the infamous Hill of Eternal Peace, now under Persian control. After a brief debate, young Alimea surprised everyone with her poise.
"Yay.
That means we're founding another city," she declared. "But, Princess, the seas are dangerous," an advisor cautioned. "Arab pirates have appeared." Alimea waved him off with a grin. "We should have built war galleys ages ago. Better ships are a must to bring resources from our colonies. Now, get to work, Uncle Tull." And so it was. Craftsmen worked tirelessly to develop maritime trade technologies, and settlers set sail on the old ship Surya. Meanwhile, in the capital, a great prophet founded the Church of Judaism, inspiring the people to construct magnificent religious buildings. His goal was ambitious: to spread the good news and peacefully claim the resource-rich Hill of Eternal Peace. For the time being, the idea gained favor. But the good news didn't stop there. Queen Sarijah married the heir to the Arabian throne. The union was celebrated widely, especially with the birth of their son, Malik. A few years later, warship technology was developed, allowing silver to finally flow into the capital, but the horses still didn't arrive. Worse news came from Lacaria. The island had been seized by another nation. Upon hearing this, the old advisor Tula passed away. Months later, Queen Sarijah, known as Sarijah the Waiting, a nod to her endless anticipation for deliveries from Sarpal, also passed. She left behind two sons, Malik and Samir. According to the records, power in Assyria passed to Alimea rather than Sarijah's husband, Prince Rashid. Rashid, deeply in love with Assyria, renounced his Arabian roots and never spoke a word of Arabic again for the rest of his life. Alimea, who remained unmarried, cared only for ships and naval affairs, devoting her reign to strengthening Assyria's fleet. Upon ascending to power, Alimea halted the construction of temples and proudly launched her first warship, the Queen Alimea. The grand ceremony even drew the royal ship of the king of the Sumerians. Shortly after, Alimea fell gravely ill and was confined to her chambers for an extended period. During this time, de facto power was held by Rashid, her brother-in-law, who dutifully carried out her every command. The following year, during Rashid's rule, Persia seized 2 Assyrian territories, including one rich in fish. Despite his immense anger, Rashid remained steadfast, repeating to small dukes, "Peace is Assyria's legacy. The time will come when these resources return to us." After several years of relative peace, Queen Alimea recovered enough to ride horseback despite her advanced age. However, a secret about Rashid came to light, revealed by Arabia. It turned out he had a daughter, Layla Amina, born out of wedlock, who was living at the Arabian court. Rashid admitted to the child's existence and requested her return to Assyria. The Arabian response was firm: she would only be sent if Assyria became a vassal state. Rashid, silent with rage, sent back the observing unit of Assyrian archers home, cutting all ties with Arabia without a word. Alimea passed away at nearly 80 years old, never seeing her dream city founded. With Assyria's financial situation worsening, Rashid formally took power until Sarijah's sons came of age. Faced with mounting challenges, Rashid focused on building economic strength through a grand lighthouses project and initiated a secret project, the creation of a pirate fleet. This fleet was designed to raid merchant ships and bring gold back to Assyria. Rumors swirled that its primary target would be Arabian vessels. With no funds to build a pirate fleet, Rashid sought inspiration from the legendary king merchant Ilium, who had once secured Assyria's prosperity through daring trade ventures. Following Ilium's example, Rashid gathered the finest opium in the kingdom and set out on a bold journey, intending to visit Turkey and broker a lucrative deal. At last, Assyrian settlers established the long-awaited colony of Alipol, securing access to valuable iron deposits. However, their success was immediately shadowed by tension as 2 Russian chariots appeared at the border, patrolling the island. This was unmistakably seen as an act of aggression. But would it lead to war? It was a remarkable year for Assyria. A grand temple was completed, and Rashid saved the state's budget with an impressive influx of 900 coins. The only looming issue was the Russians, who had settled in the city of Alipol. It became clear that they would soon lay claim to the city, and with it, the precious iron. For the 16th birthday of his eldest son, Malik, Rashid took both sons, Malik and Samir, to witness their first naval battle. The conflict was unavoidable, as pirates, likely Persian, had begun preying on Assyria's sea routes. The battle would be fought with 2 war galleys crafted during Ilimia's reign, their first true test of worth. Standing at the bow, Rashid held his sons close, waiting for the clash to begin. Just before the battle with the pirates began, a pigeon flew to Malik with news. The Fate, a ship that had traveled halfway across the world, had just been sunk. Malik held back the attack, but then the Persian pirate ship vanished into the waters near Germany. To honor the fallen ship, Rashid immediately ordered the slaves to construct a monument and harbor. "There's no time to waste," he declared. "The blood spilled demands sacrifice." The next day, the pirate ship launched a surprise attack on Rashid's vessel, which barely survived the onslaught. But just in time, revenge came from the Queen Alimea, and the pirate ship was sent to the depths of the sea. Several years later, Governor Rashid passed away from old age. His elder son, Malik, ascended to power in Assyria, demonstrating exceptional organizational talent. Malik proposed ambitious reforms, including the expansion of trade routes and transforming slave plantations into villages. His younger brother, Samir, also showed great promise, focusing on military development. He introduced a new unit of skirmishers and supported the catapult project. Meanwhile, the pirate fleet initiative collapsed. Assyria retained a single pirate ship, but it had yet to yield any profits. King Malik proved himself an exceptional organizer year after year. He introduced tobacco to Assyria and, despite the menace of pirates, finally succeeded in delivering iron to the kingdom. Samir, though harboring a deep dislike for the sea, partly due to an injury sustained in his first naval battle, managed coastal defense with great efficiency. Remarkably, the lone pirate ship, Arashir, earned an impressive 18 gold pieces. Despite excellent strategy of Samir, the unknown pirate attacks proved devastating. The entire fleet of war galleons founded by Queen Alimea sank within days, their age finally catching up with them. The loss of the ships also disrupted vital fish supplies, sparking discontent among the citizens for the first time. King Malik was furious, but the pirate fleet was ultimately defeated, ironically, by Assyria's own pirate ships, Arahij and new-crafted Samir Rage. Years passed, and the state treasury dwindled dangerously. King Malik grew irritable, spiteful, and perpetually angry. Despite his best efforts, the empire was on the brink of collapse. People whispered that he didn't even have time to relieve himself. Meanwhile, his brother Samir married a Persian noblewoman and had a son, Paran, with another child on the way. Malik, on the other hand, was teetering on the edge of despair. Over the next decade, Malik the Grumpy alienated both the Arabs and the Persians. In retaliation, the Arabs deployed their entire war fleet, obliterating Assyria's pirate ships. Even the news of Assyria's increasing cultural standing failed to lift Malik's spirits. His relentless grumpiness even offended his brother's Persian wife. At age 36, Malik finally married a noblewoman from his court, causing a scandal as he had previously promised his hand to the daughter of the Turkish king. The ensuing diplomatic crisis strained relations further. Despite his flaws, Malik remained appreciated by the people. Yet, he coped with his mounting stress through an endless string of affairs with court attendants, earning him a reputation as much for indulgence as for leadership. Everyone had grown accustomed to the outbursts of Malik the Grumpy. Determined to assess the Arab forces he despised, Malik received a shocking report. The Arabs were using camel cavalry, creatures he had never even heard of. Then came the fateful day, when the treasury ran dry. The court froze in terror, awaiting Malik's reaction. He glared at the trembling treasurer before bursting into laughter. "You're so foolish, you thought I didn't know? Mess up like this again, and you'll be scrubbing herring barrels for the rest of your days." The later years of Malik's reign were calm, and for a time, peace reigned in Assyria. Malik welcomed the birth of a daughter, Diana, a bright and inquisitive girl who charmed everyone at court. At the age of 66, Malik's beloved wife passed away, leaving him a widower. Just months later, a fierce argument erupted between Malik and his brother Samir. Rumors swirled, whispers that Malik had taken liberties with Samir's wife. Was it true? The records are silent, and historians love a juicy mystery. 1 year later, Malik's decision to send a mission to investigate the island of Lucaria to see if it was still viable for settlement. The mission was entrusted to the proud ship Duke Samir. However, tragedy struck. The ship was intercepted by an Arab pirate vessel. The captain took a wise defensive position against the wind, but even his cunning couldn't save the day. The Duke Samir was sunk, and the Arabs mockingly christened the isles the Islands of the Cowardly Brothers. The years continued to pass, with King Malik growing ever more impatient with his faltering empire. At the age of nearly 82, he issued a grim decree. All available slaves were to be forced into backbreaking labor to complete a grand trade plaza and harbor. The price of his ambition was steep. Tens of thousands perished in the effort. But destiny has a way of striking back. Just days after the projects were completed, tragedy struck the royal family. Malik and his brother Samir were found murdered in their chambers. The culprits were never officially identified, but many believed it to be an act of vengeance by the families of the enslaved workers who had died building Malik's vision. The horror didn't end there. Malik's only daughter, the bright and beloved Diana, was also slain during the turmoil. Only Samir's sons survived the carnage. The elder, Kian, a poised and calculating figure at 22, and his younger brother, Arash, a fiery and daring spirit at 20. The weight of Assyria now rested upon their young shoulders. How will these brothers, so different in temperament, steer the kingdom forward? And so, the reign of Malik, who once began his rule with dreams of abolishing slavery, ended in a stark contradiction to his ideals. In his final years, he drove his people to their limits, demanding the greatest effort ever seen in Assyrian history. The tragic cost was unparalleled, with more lives lost in a single day than at any other time under his rule. For his harshness, Malik met a grim fate, a punishment some called divine justice. This turbulent chapter is remembered as the era of piracy, marked by naval conflicts, strife, and exploitation. Yet, as Malik's reign ended in chaos and loss, a new chapter began. At the age of 22, Kian, the eldest son of Samir, ascended to the throne. It was under his leadership that Assyria turned the page, leaving the shadows of the past behind and stepping cautiously into a new era of hope and rebuilding.